Welcome to Time of Death. This video is for informational purposes and in no way meant to glorify or condone violence. In today's video, we'll be discussing the murder of Gabriel Eduardo Reyes. Reyes was shot and killed on Wednesday, January 9, 2002, in the 4000 block of Sunset Boulevard in Silver Lake, according to LA County coroner records. Christian Aguilar was subsequently arrested and charged with the murder. The following is the evidence at trial. Victim Gabriel Reyes, a 14-year-old member of La Mirada Locos, was shot and killed outside a Yoshinoya restaurant at Sunset Boulevard and Fountain Avenue in Los Angeles shortly after 7 p.m. on January 9, 2002. A witness, who was standing about 3 feet from the victim when he was shot, had just eaten dinner at the restaurant and stepped outside. He saw the victim talking with a couple of people outside the restaurant, which was known as a place where members of La Mirada Locos would hang out. A red truck or SUV pulled into the parking lot driving very slowly, and the witness noticed that the victim and his friends became agitated. The witness lost sight of the truck when it drove behind a van, then suddenly heard a single shot ring out and the victim say that he was hit. The truck pulled out of the parking lot going very fast onto Fountain Avenue. The witness did not see who was in the truck. He could only see two shapes and could not tell their sex or hairstyle. The witness called 911 and left after the ambulance came. The police arrived several minutes later. The witness talked to the police the following day and told them what he saw. Police who arrived at the scene shortly after the shooting found no spent shell casings. The bullet recovered from the victim's body appeared to have been fired from a revolver. 2 days after the shooting, a neighbor who lived in one half of a duplex and rented the other half to defendant's family overheard defendant speaking angrily with his sister. He asked where his mother was and told his sister he had shot someone. The sister asked him where it happened, and defendant said Yoshinoya. The neighbor immediately called 911 and brought the handset to the window in order to record what defendant was saying. When the police arrived, the neighbor denied that she had called 911 because defendant's sister and wife were there, and she was scared. A couple of days later, the neighbor went to the police station and told police that she had heard defendant say that he had shot someone. 6 weeks after the shooting, Jason Singleton, who had been arrested for attempted murder in an unrelated incident, told detectives that he had information about the victim's murder. Singleton was a member of La Mirada Locos and had known the victim since the victim was 2 years old. He said that he was standing on the corner of Sunset Boulevard and Sanborn Avenue, which is a few blocks away from Yoshinoya, at around 7:20 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. on January 9, 2002, when he saw a defendant in a red Blazer-type SUV that was going north on Sanborn. He knew defendant was from headhunters and had the moniker Demon. Defendant was in the car with a woman Singleton knew as Necia, whose name is Bridget Baconi. The car pulled over and defendant got out and said, "La mamadas, you fucking rankers." Singleton saw that defendant had a gun, which he could tell was a revolver. Singleton took off and ran to his house, which was nearby. Shortly after he arrived home, he received a phone call from a friend telling him that the victim had been killed. A month after interviewing Singleton, Detective James King interviewed Baconi and conducted a search of her residence. He recovered several photographs, including ones in which Baconi is shown making headhunter gang signs, letters between Baconi and defendant, and a phone book, one of which had headhunters writing in it. Detective King also discovered during his investigation that defendant's mother owned a red Jimmy SUV until shortly before the shooting, when she transferred the title to her sister, and that defendant had received a traffic ticket while driving that car in November 2001, 2 months before the shooting. Murder charges were filed against defendant in April 2002, and defendant was located and arrested in June 2002. The case was scheduled for preliminary hearing in December 2002, but Detective King was unable to locate Singleton or Baconi in the weeks before the scheduled hearing, and the case was dismissed. After the dismissal, defendant was transferred to the West Valley Detention Center in San Bernardino County, where a deputy sheriff for the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department was asked to monitor the defendant's incoming and outgoing mail for possible evidence. The deputy searched defendant's cell and found several letters among defendant's personal property. He photocopied the letters and sent them to the requesting detective. In the letters, defendant appears to discuss his desire to keep Baconi and Singleton from testifying. In June 2006, Detective King was able to locate Baconi, and the murder charges were refiled against defendant in July 2006. Defendant was arrested, and while he was being transported to the police station, he kicked out the rear window and tried to crawl out while the car was moving at high speed on the freeway. Defendant was placed in a jail cell that was equipped with a recording device, and a tape was made of defendant's conversations with his cellmates. In a portion of the recording that was played for the jury, defendant was heard talking to a cellmate about how the police must have found someone who was willing to talk to them, even though he thought his homies took care of it. The preliminary hearing was held in March 2007, during which Singleton but not Baconyi testified, and defendant was held to answer. Defendant was charged with 1 count of murder with 2 special circumstances. Following the trial, the jury found defendant guilty of murder and found both special circumstances to be true. The jury also found true the gun and gang allegations. The court sentenced defendant to life without the possibility of parole for the murder, plus 25 years to life for the firearm enhancement. Gabriel Eduardo Reyes was 14 years old at the time of death.